Welcome to episode 2 of a series I'm doing about preparing for the Camino de Santiago. My name's Eunice Uni Kim. This is my second go at it, and upon my father's request, this week we're gonna go with a theme so that it seems a little bit more focused. So without further ado, here are 5 things I did to prepare my body for the Camino de Santiago. 1, I went to Body Spec to get a DEXA scan done. No idea what it stands for, but basically they scan you from head to toe and their test is able to measure your lean and your fatty mass. I've been using them for a while. In fact, I used them for before and after my previous Camino last year, and it was quite striking to see how 7 days walking with a 20-pound bag on your back can really change your body composition. So I am continuing to get my body scanned every couple of months just to see how my body's gonna change over the course of training for the Camino this time. So the second thing that I did this past week was I made a training plan, and there were actually 2 parts to this. First, I figured out a goal that I wanted to work towards, and it is foot endurance. Last year, I focused a lot on the number of steps that I took per day, and it is a similar type of goal, but I am actually aiming for an average of 300 standing minutes per day to improve my foot endurance. Now, the second part of making this goal involved thinking about my lifestyle prior to going to the Camino. And in the months leading up to my trip, I will actually be traveling quite a bit for both pleasure, seeing 3 friends get married in 3 weekends in a row, and a lot of work-related travel. So I needed to have a goal and approach that would be flexible enough for my day-to-day, and I needed to be cognizant that I wouldn't have the resources available to me when I am at home while I am on the road. So that includes all of my walking and hiking shoes. I'll probably just take a single pair with me when I'm traveling extensively. I won't have a trail right outside my door. So 300 standing minutes, which equates to 5 hours a day. So the third thing that I did this past week was, well, I called it trail progression, but I did the same trail over and over and over again with my cousin. In fact, I think we did it 4 times. And there are a few things that feel really notable about this. I never work out in the morning. Like, I've never worked out in the morning before I went to work. But because the trail is in my neighborhood, I'm able to actually squeeze in a super short hike. Sometimes we only go for 20 minutes. And I think this is interesting for me because my cousin pushes me to go faster, not further, which is generally not the approach I take when I go hiking. I am a slow and steady wins the race type of girl, and we are tackling the same hill every freaking morning. And every morning it is still daunting, but I am able to go longer stretches of this crazy elevation without stopping. So I'm feeling very proud of myself. This approach is in fact working for me. So the 4th thing that I did this past week was I focused on foot strength and flexibility. If you watched my last video, talked about how I had a feeling that my arches were collapsing, which caused for some rubbing of my big toe to happen within my shoe, causing a blister when I went on super long hikes. And so I really wanted to focus on arch strength, and I have been told by physical therapists in the past that I don't have a super strong foot arch. So focusing on that, I watched a bunch of videos on Instagram about how to improve arch strength and foot flexibility. And surely if I do this every day. You know, some things gotta give. Um, The second part to improving foot strength and flexibility is recovery. And when I go on a really, really long hike, or I spend any day really more than 20,000 steps on my feet, I usually spend a good half hour with a Theragun going on all over my feet and up my legs, and it feels incredible. And I've noticed that my recovery the following day so much better. I'm not like limping around when I'm getting out of bed. I think it has to do with like the plantar fascia or something like that. But because I know I will not be able to bring my Theragun with me on the Camino, and I also will not really be able to travel with it for some of the trips I'm doing before the Camino, I'm trying to use a lacrosse ball. In fact, I have it here. It's super light, and the thing that's really nice about it is that you can also roll out your back and other parts of your body. Last year, when I was on like day 2 of the Camino, I met a friend who had a tennis ball with her, and I was feeling so much tension in my mid-back from carrying my pack all day, and the tennis ball did wonders. So this year, I will be the one bringing a self-massage tool on the trail. So the 5th thing that I did this past week was I focused on a hydration strategy. Actually, I used this approach while I was in Spain last year. And then this past week, I saw a woman post on Instagram her hydration strategy, which looked a lot like mine. And she looks like she hikes way more than I do. So I felt very affirmed in my approach. This is what I do when I know that I'm gonna go on a big hike the next day. The night before, I drink a huge volume of water, minimum 40 ounces. Currently, I am using this Stanley to have a huge intake, like while I'm at home. I love me some ice water. But basically, I want to be super hydrated. I want to pee all I need to pee the night before, the morning of, while still being fully hydrated. This entire strategy exists so that I do not have to pee in the first few hours of being on the road when I'm going on a hike. So, step 2, in the morning, have a little cafecito and also a smaller water bottle. So this is the one that I use. It is 14 ounces. It's a little Nalgene from REI. And I actually use an electrolyte. So I drop one into the tiny Nalgene, I shake it up, and I don't drink it quickly, but it's what I usually drink it within 2 hours of being on the hike, right? And then after that point, and I finish the tiny Nalgene, that's when I switch over to the medium-sized boy, which I think it's maybe 30 ounces. You know, I've had this Nalgene for quite some time that all the numbers have rubbed off, but whatever the standard size is. And then usually at that point, we've been able to find our first bathroom along the trail, and I do not have to pee in the woods. And for California, yeah, I tend to choose trails where I know that there's going to be a restroom available, so you will not catch me squatting. But yeah, this big vessel for the night before, the tiny one for the AM, and then the big boy for the PM. And that is my hydration strategy, and it has not let me down so far. And by let me down, like I mentioned, I've never had to pee in the woods, so yeah. I'm not perfect or anything, but I've got that down. So those were the 5 things that I did this past week to prepare my body for the Camino de Santiago. I hope that was interesting. Next episode, I probably will talk about how I've been watching Shrek every single day for the past week in Spanish to improve my listening comprehension. Whoops, I gave it up. That's all it was. Yeah, there are lots of other fun things about preparing for this trip, including booking accommodations, researching festivals that might be happening while you're there. Last year there was a horse festival while I was in Spain. And just coordinating with your friend that you're traveling with, in my case, Devin. Yeah. So I guess stick around if you care. See you later, Dad.